Imagine discovering that one small rule involving just $100 could completely change the direction of your financial future. It sounds almost too simple to be powerful. In a world where people talk about million-dollar investments, complex trading strategies, and high-level financial secrets, the idea that a single $100 rule could lead to wealth feels almost ridiculous. But here is the surprising truth. Many of the wealthiest individuals in the world follow extremely simple financial principles. They are not complicated formulas or hidden tricks. They are small rules that shape everyday decisions, and one of the most powerful of these principles revolves around a simple question. How seriously do you treat $100? At first, this might not sound important. For many people, $100 feels like a relatively small amount of money. It is easy to spend on a dinner, a gadget, a night out, or a random online purchase. But the real power of the $100 rule is not about the amount itself. It is about the mindset behind it. Most people make a mistake that quietly destroys their chances of building wealth. They treat small amounts of money casually while believing that serious financial discipline will begin once they start earning more. They tell themselves that when they finally make real money, then they will start investing, saving, and building assets. But that moment rarely arrives the way they imagine, because financial behavior does not magically change when income increases. If someone casually wastes small amounts of money today, they often waste larger amounts tomorrow. If someone struggles to manage a few $100s responsibly, managing thousands becomes even more difficult. This is why the $100 rule matters so much. It forces you to treat small amounts of money with the same respect that wealthy individuals treat large amounts. Think about it like this. If someone handed you $100,000 today, you would probably think carefully about how to use it. You would research options. You would consider investments. But when the amount is only $100, the decision-making process changes completely. Suddenly it feels insignificant. And that small shift in perception slowly shapes a lifetime of financial choices. The $100 rule challenges this thinking. Every time you receive $100, or even think about spending it, ask yourself one question. Will this $100 make me richer in the future or poorer in the future? That question alone has the power to transform financial behavior. You start noticing how many financial decisions are purely emotional. Impulse purchases suddenly become easier to recognize. Spending driven by boredom or social pressure becomes obvious. Many expenses that once felt normal start looking unnecessary. This does not mean you should never spend money on enjoyment. Life is meant to be lived, not turned into a spreadsheet. But the rule encourages intentional spending rather than automatic spending. And intentional spending is where wealth building begins. Consider two different people who both earn the same income. The first person treats $100 as disposable. They spend it frequently without thinking about long-term consequences. The second person applies the $100 rule. Whenever they receive or consider spending that amount, they pause and evaluate the future impact. The first person experiences constant financial leakage. Small purchases accumulate and disappear. There is little left to invest or grow. The second person begins directing those same amounts toward assets, investments, business ideas, skill development, opportunities that have the potential to multiply. At first, the difference looks small, but over years the gap becomes dramatic. Because wealth is not only built through massive decisions, it is often built through thousands of small decisions that compound over time. And this is where another powerful concept enters the picture: compounding. Compounding is one of the most important forces in finance. It occurs when money generates returns, and those returns generate even more returns. At first, the growth appears slow, but as time continues, the results begin accelerating. The early stages require patience, which is why many people underestimate its potential. But those who understand compounding treat every investment opportunity seriously, even when the initial amount seems small. $100 invested consistently can eventually grow into thousands. Thousands can grow into tens of thousands. And over decades, those numbers can reach levels that once seemed impossible. This is why many experienced investors say that the first investment is not about profit. It is about building the habit. Once the habit exists, the amounts naturally increase as income grows. But if the habit never forms, even large incomes struggle to create lasting wealth. Now here is something fascinating. The $100 rule does not only apply to spending and investing. It also changes how people view opportunities. When someone begins treating money seriously at small levels, they start recognizing patterns. They become more curious about how businesses operate. They pay attention to market trends. They start thinking about ownership instead of consumption. Instead of asking what they can buy next, they begin asking what they can build next. And that shift is incredibly powerful. Because the wealthiest individuals rarely focus only on saving money. They focus on creating systems that produce more money. Businesses, investments, intellectual property, digital platforms, and assets that grow independently of their daily effort. These systems often begin with surprisingly small starting points. A simple online store, a digital course, a small investment account, a freelance skill that evolves into a company. None of these opportunities require millions of dollars to begin. They require attention, learning, and consistent effort, and that is exactly what the $100 rule encourages. It forces you to pay attention. It pushes you to think like an owner rather than a consumer. It is a tool that can create more tools. There is also a psychological effect that makes this rule incredibly powerful. When people begin respecting smaller amounts of money, they gain confidence in their ability to manage larger amounts later. Financial discipline becomes part of their identity. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by money decisions, they become comfortable evaluating them. Confidence replaces confusion, and that confidence eventually leads to better opportunities, because people who understand money are far more prepared to recognize valuable situations when they appear. Another important aspect of the $100 rule is that it fights one of the most dangerous financial traps in modern life: lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation happens when spending increases automatically every time income increases. A raise leads to a nicer apartment, a promotion leads to a more expensive car, extra income leads to more subscriptions, gadgets, and upgrades. Before long, the new lifestyle consumes every dollar. Despite earning more than ever, financial progress remains minimal. The $100 rule interrupts this cycle. Instead of allowing spending to expand automatically, it forces a pause. A question: will this $100 improve my future? Or will it disappear without creating value? Sometimes the answer will still be enjoyment, and that is perfectly reasonable. But many times the answer will lead toward investing, saving, or building something meaningful. And those repeated decisions slowly reshape financial outcomes. Here is something worth thinking about. Most people do not fail financially because of one catastrophic decision. They fail because of thousands of tiny decisions that slowly drain their resources. Unplanned purchases, subscriptions that go unnoticed, small luxuries that feel harmless in isolation. Individually they seem insignificant, but together they create a constant flow of money, leaving their lives without producing anything in return. The $100 rule shines a spotlight on those hidden patterns. It transforms casual spending into conscious choices, and that awareness alone can change a financial future. Now imagine applying this rule consistently for the next 10 or 20 years. Every $100 becomes a moment of decision. Spend it on something temporary, or direct it towards something that grows. Over time, that repeated choice builds assets, knowledge, and opportunities that did not exist before. What started as a simple habit gradually becomes a powerful financial strategy. And here is the most interesting part of all. The $100 rule is not really about $100. It is about training your mind to treat money as a seed rather than a reward. Seeds can be consumed immediately, or they can be planted. When planted, they grow into something far larger than their original form. The individuals who eventually achieve financial independence are usually those who planted more seeds than they consumed. They did not wait until they were rich to start thinking this way. They started when the amounts were small. They practiced the mindset early, and when larger opportunities appeared later, they were already prepared to handle them. So the next time you are about to spend $100, pause for a moment. Ask the question: will this decision move me closer to wealth or further away from it? That small moment of reflection may seem insignificant today, but repeated hundreds of times over the course of a lifetime, it can quietly transform your financial destiny.